Welcome to our tutorial on how to process and correct W-2s with Sage BusinessWorks. The course today will go over what is enhanced tax reporting and e-filing and the form requirements for using enhanced tax reporting. We will then cover how to process W-2s and how to edit the W-2 totals and how to add a column to the W-2 grid. We are then going to cover enhanced tax reporting W-3 reconciliation, and last, how to merge multiple payroll files together and process a corrected W-2. What is enhanced tax reporting and e-filing? You can use enhanced tax reporting and e-filing to print signature-ready plain paper federal, state, and local forms. You can also use enhanced tax reporting to e-file federal and state tax deposit payments electronically. E-filing is provided by Atrix. This system transfers federal, state, and local reports and payments electronically to the Atrix eFile Center. The Atrix eFile Center forwards the reports and payments to the appropriate federal, state, or local agency by the approved method, including but not limited to fax, mail, or electronically. To use the Atrix eFile system, the online enrollment process must be completed and the Atrix eFile Center must receive a signed authorization form from each company, taxpayer, or authorized representative of the company or taxpayer. Enhanced tax reporting and e-filing also allows you to open previously printed tax forms to preview or print the forms again. To view a list of the tax forms available, visit efile.atrix.com. To use this task, you must have an active internet connection and a current Sage Client Care plan. If your plan is not active, a watermark will print on the forms. You will be able to see the numbers on the forms, but you will not be able to print the information to be submitted to the appropriate agency because of the watermark. You do have to sign up with Atrix if you choose to e-file the forms. You must sign up for e-filing with Atrix even for the free federal e-filing. To sign up for e-filing, go to, again, efile.atrix.com, select the Enroll tab, and this site will have more information about the programs and fees for e-filing forms. Now we're going to look at what forms are required when printing from enhanced tax reporting. For the W-2s, the employee copy is printed on a 4-up perforated paper that has the W-2 instructions pre-printed on the back. State and employer copies are printed on plain paper in the 4-up format. Federal copies can also be printed on plain paper, and they will print in a 2-up format, which is acceptable for the federal government. The W-3 also prints on plain paper, so there's no need to buy any special forms for printing except for the 4-up perforated paper for the employee copy. For 1099s, federal 1099s must be printed on the pre-printed red forms. The recipient and state copy is printed on a 4-up perforated 1099 paper, and then the payer copy is printed on plain paper. We're not going to discuss much about the 1099s and the 1096s in this tutorial today, but we just want to make you aware of the form requirements in case you use those modules as well. 1096, the federal 1096 is printed on a pre-printed red form, so you do need to buy the forms for that, and the state copy can be printed on plain paper. If you do have any questions about forms or want to order forms, you can contact the Sage Checks and Forms department either by on the web at www.sagechecks.com, or you can call them at 800-617-3224. Also, don't forget to make sure that you buy the envelopes that are designed for the 4-up format, sending out to your employees or your vendors. Now that we have discussed enhanced tax reporting and the form requirements, let's do a live demonstration on how to process W-2s, how to edit the W-2 totals, and how to use the grid to edit or add a new field. To print the W-2s in Payroll, go to Payroll, Taxes, and print W-2 forms. The Enhanced Tax Reporting and e-filing screen will display, giving you the W-2 printing options. As you see here, the 2018 W-2 and W-3 form is all that's showing available, and that is because the 2019 W-2, W-3 forms will not be available until after December 20th. If it's after December 20th and you still see the 2018 W-2, W-3 forms, go ahead and select the form, confirm the year that the W-2s are printing for, and click OK. If an update is available, the form update screen will appear, giving you 4 options on how you would like to proceed. We recommend selecting the automatic update option, and you will see it will go out to the Atrix site and it will attempt to find any available updates. It will then give you a list of options that it's going to update. Even if your state is not included on here or the W-2 forms, go ahead and click Next to proceed with the update. Please note that this update is not the same as the Sage BusinessWorks Service Pack. Form updates are not included with the Service Pack. During the Enhanced Tax Reporting update, the update may appear to lock or go to not responding. This is normal. Please do not end the update as it will complete. When the update is complete, go ahead and click Close. You are now in the Company Setup wizard. The first question you will be asked is if you want to run a test drive of your W-2s or if you want to complete processing of the W-2s. We recommend if you are going to be adding or editing fields or changing totals that you do the no thanks, start processing my W-2s. Any changes made in the test drive state will not save. In this case, we're going to choose no thanks and we're going to click next to continue. The next screen, we're going to validate the company FEIN. You're going to make sure that this is the correct number. If you do need to make changes to that number, you would come under Payroll, Utilities, Maintain Payroll Parameters, and you would change the federal tax ID number here and then save it. And then once that's saved, you would start the W-2 process over again. We're going to go ahead and hit next to continue. The next question is whether or not you have multiple payroll data files. In this case, we are going to say no to that. We will cover what to do if you have multiple payroll data files a little bit later on in this tutorial. Next, you're going to verify the company information. The address line will only accept a valid address, so in this case we need to make sure that that address is in address line 1. Verify any other information and then click next to proceed. Next question is about the tax preparer type. Select the option that applies to you and go ahead and click next. On this next screen, you're going to enter any state and local tax items. So these are going to be any deductions that you have set as local or any other deductions that have been added. They need to have a valid account number before proceeding. So in this case, it's going to give you an example of the format that the number should be in. It does have to keep that format going forward. It cannot be in a different format as this is hard-coded into the Atrix system. When you're setting up a local tax, it's going to ask you to select the state that that tax applies to. It's going to ask you to choose the name of the tax, and then it's going to also ask you for the account number. Once that's been entered and there's no other items indicating that they need to be updated, you can go ahead and hit next to continue. The next screen will be for data verification questions. If any do apply to you, go ahead and click yes, and then go ahead and click next. This is the W-3 information. There are only 2 required fields on this screen. One is the kind of payer, and the second is the kind of payer box B of the drop down. So in this case, we're going to click None Apply, and then we're going to hit Next. You are now in what we refer to as the Enhanced Tax Reporting Grid. This wizard will step you through the process asking to verify the information, starting with the employee social security number, and then the name and address, and so on through the screen. So in this case, we're going to hit Next. And it's going to go through and it validated that you had the correct address information. Next step, it's going to be looking at the box 13 options. You can hit the next step again. It's going to look at boxes 1 through 7. And hit next again. And then it's going to stop us and it's going to let us know that we have an issue that needs to be looked at. So if the box 5 Medicare wages is less than the Social Security wage limit, then box 3 plus box 7 must equal box 5. So what we have to do is we have to go back and correct that number. So we're going to click go back and correct, and then we're going to make the necessary adjustment. And then we're going to hit next, and we're going to see that that validated, but now we have a warning message. The warning message is that box 3 plus box 7 times 6.2% must be within $1 of box 4. So the box 4 is showing this amount. If we know this number is the correct number we want to submit, we can continue without correcting. Otherwise, you can go back and correct the totals. Next, it's going to look at boxes 16 and 17, which are the state wages. And then it's going to be verifying the rest of the data, and we're going to go ahead and hit next to confirm. After verifying the information on the grid, it's going to give you the options of how you would like to print and file. The first option is the complete W-2 e-filing service. That is a service in which Atrix will print and mail your employee copies. They'll file your federal and state copies, and they'll also give you e-W-2s available for all employees. If you choose to go with that option, you would click that option and hit next, and then it's going to continue with the signing up for the Atrix service if you have not already signed up. In this case, we're going to cover how to actually print the W-2s, so we're going to choose other options. We're going to click to print the employee copy, which automatically selects the e-file federal copy. So if you do not want to e-file the federal, deselect that option and choose to print. Since we're in California, there are no state W-2 filing requirements, so that option is not available as well. Once the options we would like to continue with have been selected, we're going to hit next. It's going to give us one more chance to choose the complete e-filing service if we so choose to. And in this case, we're going to hit next. It's going to confirm with us what we are actually going to print. So you make sure that those are the correct options of what you would like, and go ahead and hit next. The forms are now previewed on the screen. To determine which copy of the W-2 is being printed, look up in the status bar up here at the top, and it will display what copy you're actually looking at in order to print. So in this case, we're looking at report 1 of 4, the employee W-2. So if we go back to those examples of what form requirements we had, the employee W-2 can be printed on the perforated paper, where there will be instructions on the back. So once we have loaded that paper in our printer, we're going to go ahead and click Print Final. It's going to then let us know that we need to insert that perforated paper. We're going to click OK, and then you'll see here it will give us our printing options. So if you need to align the page, you can run a test alignment, select the printer, and then go ahead and hit OK to print. Once the employee copy has been printed, we're going to hit Next Step, which is going to allow us to print the employer W-2. This can be printed on plain paper. It can also be printed on the perforated paper. We're going to go ahead and click Print Final. It's going to suggest inserting the perforated paper. We're going to hit OK. Again, you'll see the printer options, and then you would hit OK to print. Hit Next Step. And the next step will be the federal W-2s. These are the 2 per page federal copies. They do not need to be printed on any special paper. This can be printed directly to the printer paper. You're going to hit Print Final. It's going to tell you that it cannot be printed on the perforated paper and that you must insert the plain paper. Give you the printer options there as well. You can go ahead and hit OK to print. Once that's complete, you'll hit Next Step, and you will get the option to print the W-4. This again can be printed on plain paper. You're going to Print Final to print your final copy, and then you'll hit OK to submit. Now let's go and take a look at how to add a new line for an employee that wasn't originally included in the W-2. We're going to right click on the number column. We're going to click Insert Row. We're going to state the number of rows that we would like to insert, and that's going to make the row available for you to insert. You would enter in the employee's social security number, their name, and the other pertinent information as far as their address, the kind of payer, and whether they have any box 13 options. Once that is complete, you can use this line here to move that information over so you can get a better look at what information that you have for entering their totals. So if you need to enter their totals in here, you can manually enter those in. and then you would go through and continue the process that we discussed before. Now, let's say that you need to add another box number, something for like the employer provided health care. What you can do is click on the heading at the top that shows the box IDs. You can right click, you can go to insert column. You would give the column a name, so let's just say employer health, and whether or not there needs to be a default value. As you see here, it added the new column to the end. Under this column, you'll notice this kind of says not assigned. We're going to click that drop down, and when it drops down, it's going to give you the options of what you can choose to set up that field. So in this case, let's say we wanted it to be a box 12 and then DD, and we select that item, and now it's going to display box 12DD. You can then click on each field for every employee that has that amount, and you can enter their totals on that box. If you need to remove a field, let's say you accidentally had a deduction that was set up to be a box on the W-2 and it should not have been, you can right click on the item. Once that field has been added to the list, you can go ahead and click next and continue on with your processing. And once that's complete, you're going to be in the W-2 printing options. After printing the final copy, the next time you access the W-2 file, it will ask you if you want to reprint the completed W-2, whether you want to e-file or print incomplete W-2s, if you want to do a corrected W-2, or if you would like to start over with your W-2 processing. Later in this presentation, we will go over doing a corrected W-2, but in this case, I just wanted to make you aware of the screen so you can see what options are available. So if one of your copies didn't print, you would select the option to e-file or print an incomplete W-2, but if you would just like to reprint one of your copies, you would choose the first option. Start over would only happen is if you want to completely start over and redo your W-2s from scratch. Now that the information has been verified, it's important to reconcile the totals on the Enhanced Tax Reporting grid to the 941s for the current year. The W-3 is a compilation of all the totals for each box on the W-2. The W-3 should match the total amounts on each line of the 941 report for all 4 quarters. If there is a discrepancy, then either one or more of the 941 forms will need to be amended, or the employee totals will need to be adjusted so that the W-2 reflects the reported 941 amounts. This can be done using the W-2 grid in the Enhanced Tax Reporting software. We recommend you print the W-2s to blank paper and print the W-3 and then reconcile them before printing the actual W-2. To verify, the W-2 wages add up to the amount on line 2 of the wages, tips, and other compensations on each of the 4 quarterly 941s. Compare this total to the box 1 total on the W-3. They should agree. If they don't agree, you will need to reconcile the information. Again, if one or more of the 941s was filed with incorrect information, you will need to amend the 941 form. If the 941 forms are correct and you need to edit the totals, you can do that on the Enhanced Tax Reporting grid. It is best to make sure these agree now. If they don't, you will get a notice from the IRS a few months down the line that there is a difference, and then you will have to address the difference then. So be sure to reconcile this information before submitting the W-2s. Now let's go ahead and take a look at a live demonstration on how to merge multiple payroll files and process a corrected W-2. When using multiple payroll data files, when the option screen comes up, you're going to choose yes to continue to use multiple payroll data files. The key to this is that each company must be using the same federal EIN number in order to process the multiple data files. So we're going to go ahead and select yes and hit next to continue. The multiple payroll data file screen will display. It will give you a number of options here. The first option is going to be to save the processed payroll data for use in a combined filing, which is what we're going to do here. So we're going to go ahead and click save, and then we're going to go ahead and hit OK. Single would be as if you inadvertently selected the multiple payroll data files option and you would like to go back to a single filing. Once you have one or more data files saved, you can choose the option to merge the data files. So in this case, I had already pre-done one file. So we're going to select the two files, and then we're going to click the merge option. It's going to give us the option to confirm the information. We will go ahead and say yes. You may get prompted to, if you have a duplicate employee with the same social, of whether or not you'd like to merge the duplicate, if you'd like to merge all duplicates, or if you want to cancel and manually fix it. We're going to go ahead and combine the records. Once that's complete, it will give you a summary screen of what was merged together. You're going to go ahead and hit continue, and we'll then continue with the W-2 process. You'll see here all the same options as if you were printing the original W-2. And as you can see now, the two records have been merged together, and it will allow you to continue with the W-2 processing. Now we're going to look at printing a corrected W-2. So when you go in to print W-2s after they've been done, you'll get a W-2 history file option, which will give you 5 available actions that you can perform regarding your W-2s. The first would be to reprint a completed W-2. It's for a lost copy or something that you just need to get another copy of. You can e-file or print an incompleted copy. Let's say one of your copies, such as the federal W-2 copy, didn't print the first time around. You can go back, you can select to print that copy, and then it will allow you to print those federal W-2 copies. You can correct a completed W-2. You can start the W-2 process over from scratch, which will allow you to clear your past actions and start it over again, or you can do a password lookup. In this case, we're going to look at correcting a completed W-2. The option is selected. It's going to ask you if any of these copies have been distributed. I had not yet distributed these to the employees, but I had done it federally, so I'm going to choose that option. I'm going to go ahead and click continue. Then it's going to bring up the enhanced tax reporting grid. Let's say I accidentally got Bob's address wrong. I'm going to come in here, I'm going to change Bob's address to the correct address, and then I'm going to go ahead and hit next. I go through and confirm all the fields just like we were processing the W-2s originally. It's going to show me which forms it's going to go ahead and reprint, and then it's going to allow me to reprint. So as you see here, this is going to be the federal W-2, the corrected W-2, and it does have the new correct address on it. After printing that option, it's going to redo the W-3 so that you could resubmit that with the correct information. As you see, since none of the wages changed, it's not going to go through and actually put anything in those fields. As when you do a corrected W-2, it's only going to change those fields that had a change made to them. Now it's going to display the employee W-2, W-3, and that's going to have the correct address on that as well. And then it's going to print the employee or W-2, and that is going to as well have the correct address. So that's all you need to do to correct a W-2. Here are a few things to remember before processing checks for the new year. Always make a backup prior to closing the year. Select File and Backup, and then be sure to select your company that you want to back up. Another, do not install any release that includes the tax table updates for 2020 prior to printing all year-end reports and W-2s. Once the year is closed, go into Payroll Taxes, activate states, and verify the correct SDI and SUI rates. Review and edit employee information for current pay rates, deductions, and other pays. Verify any vacation and sick pay totals and rates to make sure that they are matching the 2020 amount. Some additional resources that are available to you are our knowledge base at www.sagekb.com. Some articles of note are how to reconcile your W-2 figures to your Sage BusinessWorks payroll, how the W-2 figures are calculated, how to reconcile your 941 figures to your Sage BusinessWorks payroll. You also have access to our year-end center on www.sagecity.com/resources. You scroll down to the Sage BusinessWorks product and select Center. This knowledge base article provides information on commonly asked questions regarding fiscal year-end and payroll year-end. Are you not getting the email updates when the products are released? Sign up for notifications at www.sagecity.com. Log in to Sage City, and if you've created a login, you will need to continue, otherwise you will need to register for Sage City. Once you have logged in, select Support Groups, then United States, And let's go ahead and just take a look at that right now so we can see a live demonstration. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to join or sign in up here in the top right hand corner. You're going to enter your email address. You're going to click join or sign in. You're going to enter your password if you already have one created. Otherwise you can reset your password. And now you're logged into Sage City. Once here, you're going to go under Support Groups, then United States. You're going to select Sage BusinessWorks as your product. You're going to click on the Forums, Sage BusinessWorks Announcements, News, and Alerts. And then you're going to come under here under the Notifications and choose Turn Forum Notifications On. And then it's going to automatically send updates to your email address when these notifications have been released. Just want to thank you for attending this web class today, and if you have any further questions, please go ahead and contact support. Thank you very much.